Hi, and welcome to your Urban Connection. Remember, this is the channel that is often imitated, but is never duplicated. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today I want to get right into this. Here we are on a Sunday, and we have just witnessed another day, another dollar, and another shooting. And this shooting involved a candidate for president of the United States. In other words, a politician. Now, if you, like me, have watched the Sunday morning talk shows on all three networks and the cable networks, all you've seen is a parade of politicians coming forth with the same message. We must end this political violence. This political violence. Now, that might sound good to some of you, but it doesn't move me because I have to ask the question, why did you not say one word and have not said one word about ending the gun violence that takes place every day in our cities across the United States? And because of your allegiance to the NRA, you refuse to raise a finger to do anything about gun violence committed by teenagers and adolescents and youngsters, such as the one that was carried out on yesterday by another 20-year-old with an AK or AR rifle that was used in an attempted assassination. And all of a sudden, you hypocritical politicians fall in line just like a flock of geese with the same tired statement. Oh, we must end this political violence. Oh, this nation is divided. Hell yes, it's divided. But who divided it? You know, let's be factual, let's be realistic. This country has been divided, deeply divided, ever since the day that this same gentleman that was involved on yesterday, since he came down that escalator talking about the Mexicans were coming in and Mexico was sending us their rapists, their murderers, their blah, blah, blah. And he himself has now been convicted of being a rapist and a sexual assaulter. But he's talked about not only the Mexicans, he's talked about the Muslims. He's talked about blacks in the black cities, cities that were managed or run by blacks as shithole countries. He's talked about everybody except white males and white supremacists. He even denied knowing who David Duke was. Just like he denied here in the last few days, he denied knowing anything about the 2025 project. He didn't know anything about that. He didn't know who was involved. But you see, and most politicians, when this guy started dividing this country with all this bullcrap, most of these politicians, especially on the right or on the Republican side, embraced it. And they picked up his tune. And they started talking the same language and the same message. And as the gap between the Americans grew wider and wider and wider until what happened on yesterday, basically, which was predictable. Okay? I heard Lindsey Graham say he's not surprised. He expected it sooner. And why? Because of the fact that he himself, who said in 2014 to 2015 that this president was unfit to hold office. And if he was elected, he would tear the country apart. And you know what? He was right. So here we find ourselves today with a man at a political rally, an outdoor political rally, bleachers full of people. And what do we have? We have an attempted assassination. Attempted assassination. He's fortunate. He's fortunate. He's lucky to be alive today. But you know what? Some of the people that were in the audience listening to him spread that garbage and further divide this country, they were not so lucky. As of right now, at least one is dead and two are in critical condition. But they refuse to do anything or say anything that would unite the country. You don't hear them talking about that. Let me just give you a little example. It's very interesting that a lot of the politicians that I saw said, "Look, man, let's take a day off of this partisan politicking stuff, and let's focus on the seriousness of this issue." But there were one or two that were not grown up, not intelligent enough, not dignified enough, with no credibility to do that, to take that position. Now, for number one, and I cannot remember this guy's name, but I saw him, he's one of the first ones that I saw, made a statement that if the Republican Party is going to be subject to this type of violence, and we're going to do the right thing, and we're going to fight back. Wait a minute, that's not how you bring people together. Two wrongs do not make a right, never have and never will. And then you have this dumb bootlicker, Tim Scott, with no evidence, no investigations ever begun, and he comes out and says, let's be clear. This was an assassination attempt, and it was led by the Democrat. Tim, you make a fool of yourself, a bigger fool of yourself, when you make such statements, only to be contradicted when we find out that this shooter was a registered Republican, Tim. But that makes no difference to you. You didn't take the time to wait and let the investigation take place and vet out who was behind this, what was their motive. You didn't take the time for that. You just had to lick the boots of the victim and come out with a dumb, ignorant answer to a question when a mic was put in front of you. It's the only thing you know to do, because you don't have any intelligence, Tim. You just proved that you're not even fit to be a vice president, sir. But other than that, we saw a lot of hypocrisy on the part of all of these politicians. You see? Now, when it's one of them, they want to rush out and talk about the fact that we've got to put an end to this political violence. Now, they didn't use the word gun violence, if you notice that. See, they never want to use that because that'll put them in bad position and bad light with the NRA. So they never use that word. But they never even talk about gun violence that's happening on our streets each and every day in our cities across this country. Why don't you do that? Why don't you take a position and pass some bills about gun control? Because he's a 20-year-old, like many other 20-year-olds and 19s and 18s, that should never have had a gun. This guy's gun, according to reports, the gun that he used was bought by his dad. And he's 20 years old. So he borrowed, I guess he borrowed Dad's gun, or I don't know, Dad might have gave it to him. But anyhow, this guy should never have been in possession of a gun. All right? But you see, the politicians don't want to talk about that. You see, they don't want to talk about gun control. They don't want to talk about getting guns out of the hands of people that are mentally disturbed, people that never should be in possession of a gun, and especially not a gun in the magnitude of an AR-15 or AK-47 or whatever, anything like that. But you see, these politicians, they don't pay any attention to that because they don't want to get on the wrong side of the NRA. Oh, no, 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 we can't do that. You see? So what's happening and what's going to continue happening is we're going to continue to have violence, gun violence on our streets in cities across America for the foreseeable future because of the fact that these same politicians that are harping in unison today about ending political violence say not one deadgum word about doing something about not only ending, but even reducing the gun violence that is taking people's innocent lives in cities across America each and every day. Okay? So until these politicians grow some spine and some backbone, okay, this country is going to continue to be divided. Okay? It's going to continue to be divided, and the gun violence is going to continue. And at some point in time, it's going to be targeted toward another politician. Mark my words. Mark my words. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, look, guns do not discriminate, okay? Bullets do not discriminate. As you saw yesterday, the target was a politician. The dead and the victims were members of the audience. So you see, the bullets don't discriminate. But these politicians who continue to say nasty things about citizens of the United States that are of different hues and different colors and different backgrounds and different religions and different sexualities, you continue to say, degrade these people and say bad things about them, you are part of the problem. You're not a part of the solution. You are further knowingly dividing this country wider and wider. Okay? So you know better. You know better. Now, what was the motive they want to know? What was this guy's motive? They're trying to find out everything. But yet the one thing they don't want to consider is maybe the motive was you're asking America today to put in the White House a convicted criminal. Someone who's been convicted of 34 criminal acts. And you ask the American public to do something that's never been done before. Is that a possible motive? I'm not here to say it. I don't know this guy, but it could be. But you don't want to consider that. Could it be that this guy is a racist to the highest degree? He is a white nationalist. And let me just tell you, he's putting forth, along with some of his allies, a project 2025 that is going to further drive this country further apart and possibly do irreparable damage to this country and our democracy. And yet, these right-wing politicians and the right-wing media news outlets like Newsmax and like Fox News and some of the others are doing everything they can to prop this guy up, spreading the lies that he tells without fact checking without doing anything to call him out on his lies. And he's full of them. So until you guys can get your heads on straight, grow some backbone, grow some spine, get some credibility and some dignity about yourselves, all of what you're speaking about now is going in one ear and out the other. Because everybody in the world that knows anything about you politicians, they know you are just seeing which way the wind is blowing, and that's where you're going. You know better. You guys have common sense. A lot of you. Some of you don't. Okay. I mean, some of you know, like Tim Scott, he doesn't have any common sense. He's just a bootlicker. He's saying what he thinks that pleases one person. That's what he's doing. He doesn't have enough sense, enough common sense to know that there's no way in the hell that he will ever be the vice president in these United States. And certainly not one picked by Donald J. Trump. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to hear, I'm sick of that. I don't want to see any more of these politicians on these deadgum talk shows, on these TV shows, come up with that hypocrisy crap about uniting the country and we got to end this political violence until you're willing to say something and do something about the gun violence that is taking place on our streets across this country every single day. And you all are well aware of it, but you do nothing because of the fact that you don't want to get out of line with the NRA. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.